Tommy sees that on that little thing, right across the street, gas station.
Oh,
Yeah. I live right there across the street.
yes, I got it.
I went in there, talked with a couple of guys.
Restarted like 4 different
Yeah,
times.
so
Yeah,
they
you see that apartment right there, to see, that's.
I got one right now, which is low key, so I can run that company page. Get a restart that, because obviously. But I mean, like, the administrator on that, we get minimum so if it goes down,
Oh, yeah.
the page is still there.
Okay, we'll start this workshop with some public comments. Anybody want to speak?
My name's Brian Byers, and I'm here just for, try to figure out what this long-term permanent solution is gonna be for the landfill. Mud and debris, track out, washing in the stream, that type of thing. Same issue we've been dealing with for quite a while.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Hunter, please.
When we're going to have like a big packet like we are today, it would be nice to use this, the technology that the county commission and the school boards use, the monitor, so everybody will know what you're talking about.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have questions about the leachate. I'd like to know how it's gonna be resolved and how long it's gonna take. And also, well, I guess the other questions that I have to do with the, regular workshop. The regular board meeting, which is the packet, the TDEC inspection reports aren't in there,
We'll talk about that at 6 o'clock.
okay?
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say that since the last meeting, I don't think there's been a lot of mud in the road. If it has been, it's been acted. So they're doing something.
Thank you. Is that it?
Yeah, sure.
Anyone else? Okay, we have four different things we want to discuss. We have Chris Klein here, who's intimately familiar with our situation with landfill. So Chris, do you want to start and give us a little report on the leachate outbreak out there at the landfill?
Short and sweet of it, we were notified, the commission was notified of a leachate outbreak by the state, by the TDEC, the state representatives. And CCI was requested to go out, take a look at it. We went out and immediately, within minutes of being out there, noticed quite a bit of activity that was going on outside of what was previously described to TDEC. The largest point of that was seeing moving water going into the sediment basin and presumably going off the site. After that, with discussions with the commission, it was questioned what we would do, and I immediately said we would sample that water to determine what it was and where it was going. In the report, we did notice in all the sampling that leachate was present. Leachate was present where it was said to be, and leachate was present in the stormwater where it was not supposed to be. Final findings are that in my engineering opinion, leachate was leaving the site. That's the short and sweet, and I don't mind to answer further questions on what that was.
I know, Diane, I know you were out there with Chris on that visit. Do you have anything else to add to?
No, during the visit, I mainly had a lot of questions of what is this liquid on this side of the slope and why is it here on a dry day? But yeah, I don't have any additional questions. His report really did a great job of answering those questions.
Then I know TDEC was made aware of it. What has Republic done to, well, let's talk about collecting samples. We went out there that day, and what did we encounter?
So we went out there that day to collect samples, and Adam had not been out there, so I kind of was filling Adam in on what was going on around the site. When we first got there to the place that Diana and myself had gotten to a few days prior to that, we noticed all the equipment, all the pumps were still running, just as they were when we were out there a couple of days prior to that. As I was filling Adam in on what was going on and where my concerns were, Republic or contractor, someone at the landfill had turned off all the pumps that were operating. Luckily, we got pictures of where all those pumps were pumping to, and where all that was discharging at. By the time we were sampling, all the pumps had been turned off, and there was the main area of concern was the entrance into the stormwater, seeing flowing water going into that area without flowing water upstream of that. My main concern was there is something disconnected between drain pipes in the leachate collection system for the new landfill and the stormwater, which is exactly where we were trying to make sure, is this leaving the site or not, or if it's getting into the stormwater. So all those pumps were turned off. Pictures are documented in the report. Shortly after all those pumps were turned off, all the water quit flowing into the stormwater pond as well. Which I don't know, I'm a quick person to say 1 + 1 = 2. I try not to get mixed up in all the equations that could go with that. So 1 + 1 = 2 means that leachate that was being pumped was leaving the site via the stormwater. So the sampling, we went ahead with the sampling. We sampled where Republic had first said that the leachate was going to, which was sump 1 and 2. We sampled where the pumps were sending it to. I do want to note that there were pumps that were sending it to the leachate collection system, the pumps, presumably sending that down to the sewer system, just as normally designed. However, there were secondary pumps that were moving water elsewhere, which in my great opinion, was moving water toward the stormwater. Sampling went ahead and took place, and actually I was reviewing that with one of my coworkers today, and it's the concentrations of a lot of the ammonias, the concentration or the increase in conductivity was actually higher in the stormwater than it was where the leachate we knew was going to from the leachate outbreak.
So conductivity is explained in the report.
Yes.
So when your conductivity is high, it means there's something else in the water, obviously. That's why he used the meter, and part of, I think, the purpose today was to explain to the commission why all these additional steps were taken, why there was additional cost expended to get the information that we otherwise had not been provided. The commission would not have been provided with this if Ms. Mullins and Mr. Klein had not gone out to collect the information.
So I have some questions on, I mean, I've read all this today, so it's.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you know, and what I'm seeing, it said pump failure was the cause of the outbreak, and then it said there was a crushed pipe, collapsed pipe. You've got a picture in here that,
No,
Talk-
let's correct that.
Okay.
Once you,
Okay.
before you go too far.
Okay.
What was the first thing you said?
that there was a pump, in the executive summary, it said,
That's what Republic said. That's what Republic
Republic
reported.
identified.
Now, we did run into a pump failure on the south slope. Remember the south side where we took that additional sampling on our way out?
Yes.
That was
the
the pump failure. Was that east? I don't remember.
Yeah, so initial was pump failure,
And when you
that
say
it was-
initial, you mean the first report?
The
that-
first report
Okay.
that the
Okay.
commission sent me, that Adam sent to me, indicated that there was potentially a pump failure. My knowledge of the of the landfill, there are several pumps around, so in my mind, I'm going to these different places. And then knowing that they said that it was going into the newly constructed cells. There's also a pump in, cell H, originally. So my initial thought was, is it that?
So they didn't tell you which pump?
No, we had no clue which pump, which one it was. We kinda knew, we knew where it was draining to. And then the first day that we arrived on site, I mean, it was really quick to see where leachate was. It's not hard to find leachate. It's usually pretty dark in color.
But even on our way out on water testing day, right before the wash station,
Yes,
there were those two temporary pumps.
correct.
And
So
that is the one that I know of that was broken the day we were out there. It was
Right.
draining leakage.
That would
Or
be
leachate.
another area where a pump would be a potential failure. And we were notified, that day that a pump had failed. They knew about that leachate outbreak, had dammed that off, and were getting pumper trucks out to take care of that.
Okay.
But that was not the area that was described as going into
The storm.
sump 1, 2, 3 of the new constructed cell. So
then
that was an additional, and it looks like the latest report that I just received, looked like from this week, that is being taken care of with TDEC.
Okay, so, and then there was a crushed pipe, is that just from the construction?
So the crushed pipe is, in cell A, which is where the largest leachate outbreak was, going into the new area. That was reported back in '24, I believe it was March of '24, where a collapsed pipe had been. Republic provided the CCTV to us, we reviewed it. I deal with pipes, more than I deal with anything, and a collapsed pipe is something that liquid's not gonna get through.
Right.
And if it's designed to get through that, again, let's put 1 + 1 and it equals 2. If we've got a crushed pipe and then we go out there and we see a leachate outbreak, we can only, it can only be said that the crushed pipe, could be causing that backup of extensive water.
So, there was also a pipe, it was in one of your pictures, that said it was unknown pipe.
That is the drain for a new cell.
Oh,
That would be the drain for the new cell, and that's where my largest concern, comes. Was water was going through that pipe, and similarly on the other side, right before, in the stormwater ditch, is where water was flowing. And again, on day 2, when they turned all those pumps off, that water quit flowing as well.
Oh, okay.
So quick and easy, it's one of those things. I told Adam, we can sample it, we know what it is, we know, if leachate's there, it's gotta be here. So we went ahead and sampled it, to make sure.
So it was one area reported with a pump situation. We got it under control. Chris goes out, finds multiple areas of leachate outbreak. Decides to sample, goes back 2 days later to sample, stop me if I get anything wrong here, and samples what we call hot areas after he tests them with the conductivity meter, and at that time sees pumps and hoses that are pumping the what is draining stormwater contaminated with leachate out to the outfall where the forest is. That is a no-no. That puts the commission in a violation risk situation, certainly by no action of the commission and not even the knowledge of the commission. We found it on our own. So even though on the agenda, there's a list of, the last 5th item was looking at the consulting fees for his time and effort to go out there and get the full story. So I think Ms. Ross at the other meeting had said, I was told there was a leachate outbreak, but it's all taken care of, and that was not the case. And we did not get the information to Mr. Klein to ask him to collect that billing and isolate it, but that can be done. But part of the purpose here is to make sure the commission understands why the additional effort, time, and expense was expended. Because it puts the commission at, and that is a hard no-no under the permit. And everybody kind of knows that, apparently. But we would not have known it if Cannon had not gone out.
Well, that is the picture with the tubing from going to, there was a picture that has
Hose.
hose going to the other, yeah, and that's not supposed to happen, okay.
I understand that there's a QA consulting company out there now observing the contractor actions, but I can't help but wonder and question why no employee out there ever questioned why on a dry day there's liquid flowing down the side of a hill in many spots, or why the liquid looks so dark, or are they just not, is nobody going back there? Is nobody even, you know, even for health and safety, is nobody checking to make sure that they're alive? Like, that's one of my biggest questions.
The conditions that were found, all of them were bad. All of them are bad. And just so the commission knows, I have communicated directly with legal counsel for Republic. And, I mean, they're all very substantive and professional conversations, but I don't believe that we are having any misunderstanding between the two of us that unacceptable, commission will not accept this, and we want a full cleanup and report on how it's going to be done. And wanted to know where Promise Engineering, which was their QC people, why weren't they there? When will they be back? And it all will hopefully get resolved in the new contract negotiations, which we are about to enter soon. We're supposed to be getting some dates together for that. I just spoke to her this morning about it, and she's been very good about the council. So there's not a big disagreement on the facts. They understand this was unacceptable, and we did not I think I was very clear, and I said, the commission does not wish to be lied to. So let me put it in the nicest way I can put it. And that was understood and respected, and we're moving forward with that foundational agreement.
Has a timeline been given for corrective action?
No, and we just got one thing here that came in, and I did get the heads up that this was coming in today, but I was driving, so I just read it within the last few minutes. Mr. Klein has recommended that a crushed pipe, which is at a connection, it's a leachate connection between a PVC and an HDPE. Did I say that right, Mr. Klein?
Yes.
There's a connection and it's been crushed, and the only reason we know about it is because I believe Chair Waller asked for the closed circuit video of it months ago. And so the expectation was that Republic would dig down and fix that crushed pipe, not just connect on to the downward piece of it. And this report that we just got tonight, dated March 20th, is from CEC, and after some discussion, it looks like they're saying, we don't want to dig down to the crushed section, we don't think it's necessary. And this is problematic because Mr. Klein can explain to you what the crushed pipe piece has to do with what he found as part of the unexpected leachate outbreak inspection. He'd seen this before, kind of expecting them to get to it, but then when he went out, we could see there was a connection to the current problem, so maybe you can clarify that for everybody.
Yeah, so
they know what it is.
the original tech memo that CEC had put out back in '24, we had reviewed that extensively, taking a look at everything involved with it. Again, collapsed pipe, you can argue all day long. I'm gonna say it's collapsed pipe. I would change my thought on that. The way leachate collection systems work is it's basically like a French drain around your house. It collects everything and tries to get it out and gets it to the proper places. That system is going to connect to the new cell, which is not a bad thing. However, at the end of that pipe, there is a collapsed pipe fitting something is gonna create a slowdown for the leachate to get out. When you plug a pipe, when you put a plug in a bathtub, what does it do? It fills up. That's the best way I can explain what's happening out there. Is it looks like this crushed pipe is probably keeping the leachate from getting out of the cell. That could be something that has been going on, presumably for a while. And then whenever they excavate down, they've exposed that area, that they've breached the pond or the bathtub per se, and that's where the leachate is coming from. So the state, the other side of this is the state requires keeping that leachate level to less than 1 foot over. And in their report, they're saying that pipe is 100 feet deep. So that means that they could potentially have 100 feet of water over top of that pipe.
Plus overburden to get to it.
Well, so
Yeah, we won't even get into that.
this crushed pipe, I'm sorry for my ignorance, but is this an inlet or is this on the discharge side?
It would be on the inlet, so it's inside, it's inside the,
That's what I thought I was hearing.
yeah,
Make sure.
so it's inside the existing cell
Gotcha.
that's there. Their path forward, because this changes from HDPE to PVC later on, the PVC will not handle the additional loads. So what they want to do is basically slip line this pipe with a HDPE pipe, a pipe that's capable of handling that load. However, that's still not fixing the crushed portion in there. And in my experience, when you try to, so they want to slip line this and then fill the void space between the two pipes with grout. That side that's inside the existing landfill, that's a blind. You're going in blind unless they were to put a camera in or something like that, and then you're pressure filling that with grout. So there's nothing to keep that grout from literally filling that pipe, and now we don't have anything coming out. And from knowledge of the construction of the landfill, it looked like that work had already been done, that slip line of the pipe. So we don't know what it looks like now. We don't know how far that pipe penetrated through, or where the grout is.
So what's your recommendation to fix this matter?
And have you read what they said?
I was just glancing over it before we started. I still, with everything, say I recommend to excavate that.
If they're pushing to not excavate it, why can't we send a camera down the hole to look at it?
That would be my second, is let's look at the pipe now. Let's see what's in there now.
I thought they were gonna check. That was gonna be part of the process.
I've not seen the check on that.
Okay,
I've
okay.
not seen that CQA, which apparently is just now on site. So there's no report of how that pipe was put in. There's no report of what type of pipe was actually put in. None of that.
So the water leachate it's not getting through, so it's pushing back and filling up like your bathtub.
That's that, yeah.
And it's just coming out everywhere else. Is that kind of what
Seems
it's?
to be the case.
So there could be additional leachate outbreaks in other locations.
Yes.
Can I just ask?
Nope.
No, I don't want to. We're not having a public discussion at this point. Once we're done, maybe. But
Is this pipe, is it vertical or horizontal or both?
It's horizontal.
It's horizontal.
because it's coming from an old cell across another cell to get to the leachate tanks, right?
Yes. It was how the leachate got out of the cell originally.
And we're building a new cell on top.
And
of
now
it.
we're building, yes. So we're basically taking the leachate from here, putting it in the new bathtub, and then we're gonna pump out through the new system.
How long is that existing pipe currently, approximately?
I believe right now we're at 150 feet horizontally.
Okay.
I've got those reports here, or I should have. I believe we're about 150.
About 150 feet horizontally, and it's approximately 100 feet deep? Did I hear that right a minute ago?
They're saying it's 100 feet deep. If I look at the drawings, if they're to scale, currently, we're no more than 30 feet deep.
This is just due to time building on top of
Yeah,
it.
well, I mean, I would have to pull out the drawings, but yeah, I mean, you're limited, that slope that you're designed to, the state limits you to that. You can't go over that. I've been on projects where that has been an issue and you gotta fix it.
It's kind of do it now, forever hold your, hold your peace, right?
It absolutely is. Now, I will not argue that in the future, once this cell is done and closed out, yes, we're gonna be 100 to 150 feet deep, on that. So we don't wanna dig down to it later.
So there was also a comment somewhere that was saying that when it was discovered, there were some the contractor didn't match the protocols. Something went wrong, and so I wondered for this. That was from, I think, Holly, a comment there. Did you hear about that? And is that going to be part of the corrective action that people are kind of trained to deal with things like this, or retrained, or whatever?
So when they're connecting to this new cell, you basically have plastic. It's not plastic. It's a big old HDPE liner that goes on the bottom. So the new system has to tie into the old system, and that's what they were doing. They were tying into that existing berm, which is it's normal. It looked like they were doing exploratory, kind of see where that was, start exposing some spots so that they knew where that berm was, and that's when. So we'll go back to the bathtub. Your bathtub has a layer on top of it, that could keep it from coming out and creating more like a tank. And then once they've opened that up, it's basically breached that side, is what it looks like. So yes, having this CQA person on site should remedy those things, or at least provide us reports to review, look at.
And so they need to be included in a corrective action.
Absolutely.
Can you ask Wells how often Promise Engineering is out there? What kind of reports that they provide back? How do we get those?
I did ask, I did not get anything yet. She just said in her cover letter, though, that
Anytime they're working, it looks like.
yeah, there were no QCA reports from the week of February 17th or February 24, because Hinkle was only supposed to be pumping water following rain events, not engaged in construction activities. So Promise was not there.
Well, they might have been pumping water, but it just had leachate in
It
it.
just happened to be doing the thing they weren't supposed to be doing. And then the only changes, apparently, she's assured me that Promise has been given clear instruction to be eyes and ears and everything related to modules 1 and 2, and that is their job. But as to the 2-week period where fortunately Cannon was available to go out, there's no QC reports and nobody was on site from Promise.
So then how do we get Promise reports for the past 3 weeks?
I will have to ask her for those.
I'd like those weekly.
I would like to know if there were any reports leading up to that when they were exposing the
So
berm.
so we want everything prior to,
The 17th?
Mhm.
And then post, we want them weekly. Where do you want them sent?
To me and you is fine, I'll disperse them to everyone else.
Does TDEC have any say on the slip lining versus excavating? Does anybody know?
Well,
Are they aware?
I don't think that TDEC is aware of the issue. The commission became aware of it from Mr. Klein reviewing the closed circuit material. The report was very vague. And when I say the report, CEC had a report. And when I saw it, it made no sense to me. I would have never known from reading that there was a crushed pipe up in the pile somewhere. So Mr. Klein found that the expectation was that this would get resolved while they were excavating and digging out, or it'd be reconsidered, because they kind of said they didn't want to do it. But the expectation was they would reconsider it when he went out in this recent event and saw a leachate outbreak very near where the crushed pipe issue was, indicating that, yeah, it's doing exactly what one would expect it to do, which is come out, not because it's not getting captured and moved where it's supposed to be moved. But this letter, which we're all just kind of workshopping in right now, basically confirms that CEC's position is we're not gonna fix it after we've brought all this up. Although I haven't read the whole thing, it says there sounds like they're relying on this argument that that TDEC already approved a no action on this, but since if all TDEC had was the same report I saw, you wouldn't be able to see in there's a crushed pipe. You have to look at the closed circuit footage and see what the problem is. So if you only have half of the story, like, well, there's just one little outbreak and one pump that's failing, you don't know the rest of the story and you can't take proper action. So what would help at this point is for the commission to talk about this, as get all your information from Mr. Klein if you want to look at a map or whatever else you want to look at, so there's some direction, because I think there are some options about, you mentioned putting a camera down. They may be willing to do that, they may not. We may have to take it to TDEC. I'm not sure, but
Well, do you have a camera or access to a camera?
I can get crews out there.
And well, they responded. I read through this stuff as quick as I could,
There was a lot.
and Chris basically on February 20th recommended the collapsed pipe basically is identified and he needs to be excavated and repaired. Then on the 27th, Wells from Trumpeter Wells,
Wells Trumpeter, she's
Trumpeter,
she's from Holland and Knight.
she responded to you that bottom line is with regards to the crush module A connector pipe, the penetration plan, the operation, blah, 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 they go through. I've attached 2 PDFs which provide visual how Santec plans to address module A crushed leachate pipe. To briefly summarize, Santec with slip line, which is what you talked about doing the slip line, which raised questions for me with the fact that you kind of can create another problem with that if it's not in the right spot. But they said they would provide this commission with camera inspections before and after. We haven't seen anything on that. So are they doing anything with this? My question is, what's moved along since February 27th?
To my knowledge, nothing, other than conversations between Elizabeth and their.
Because we could, I mean, if they're gonna do a visual, if they've done some type of camera inspection, we should see that already to understand, is the problem being addressed?
Well, based
To
on
your
the
concern, they can answer some of your concerns.
based on the sound of this letter, nothing's been done, which is a positive for us. I would like to see a camera. I'd like to see it fixed correctly. Our, likings.
I agree, I think the
I'd like
excavation should
to
have.
confirm that leachate, like if you take a camera down the pipe, you can confirm, okay, leachate is entering this pipe, or it's not, especially near the compromised area. But I'm also still concerned, like, do we know how much head is on the liner now? And if nobody was checking on the landfill when they were doing inappropriate actions before, then is somebody going around the landfill now to make sure that there's no additional leachate popping out on any other side?
Because Promise is only responsible for sales 1 and 2, right?
That's what I was reading. And also, again, the problem occurred when Promise was not there, and they were not there because it was supposedly not construction. Well, a leachate outbreak is never construction.
Right.
Is that what you're
Yes,
kind of getting
yes.
to? Okay, so I'm just, then that's a great question. So if the commission is asking, then how do we avoid this in the future, basically?
Yes.
That's a great question, and we don't have, I've let council know Monday, this was happening today, all this was gonna get on the table. If you've got anything to send, send, because we're communicating, anything you can put in writing that will help inform. Today's a great day for that. So this is what we have so far. I will tell you that I've already communicated back to her, I found this to be inadequate. So, I don't have any instructions and I don't have a recommendation right now. About the crush piece, I do have a question though. Where were you talking about putting the camera? Because the camera footage where the crushed pipe was found is a different place than where the grouting is happening down below, correct?
No, it would be in the same, if that construction, if that slip lining has already taken place, which I would imagine it probably has, being that they were, at a point where they're fixing to put a liner down.
But what did they do, just put something up over the crushed piece?
I don't know what, yeah, so slip lining is basically, we've got an 8-inch pipe in there and they're sliding
They're sliding a 6-inch
pipe inside.
Inside
This
of
is-
it. But if it's crushed and you put another pipe up inside of it, I don't
It's
understand how
kinda
you
like
sell
you're,
it.
You're not getting.
I'm sorry, this way.
You're not getting past that.
That's why
it's
it's
kinda like,
vertical.
it's kinda like collapsed arteries, how they go in now and they go in and they open up. What they're gonna do is put that in supposedly, and then they're gonna, around the outside between where the gap is, they're gonna force this material in there that, whatever, if it's grout or whatever, to blow the outside pipe. But that creates, depending on how long that is, that creates a bottleneck too, where you're not getting any flow into that area. And the water flowing from the other area is gonna be condensed down, which causes a backup.
That's
So-
exactly my concern.
So
Yes.
it's the wrong fix,
Okay, thank you, that's.
especially for the expansion. It's the absolute wrong fix. Digging it up and replacing it is the right fix.
Because it was designed with an 8-inch, a larger pipe, and then you're gonna constrict it.
What size is that? What size is the
I
current
think they
pipe?
say 4 inches.
I believe it was an existing 6 that they were slip lining with.
They're supplying it
Gonna
down
try
to
to put a
4.
4. Well, yeah, obviously the question will be, is that adequate?
Right.
Let's take it 20,
Right.
let's take it.
If y'all don't mind,
25%.
I'll go back to,
Full out of there.
the question was asked about why TDEC is not saying anything about this. So
And the other
during-
thing they reference is, again, excuse me for interrupting you.
You're fine.
This was due to 4.42 inches of rain. Well, based off weather patterns in the United States, Tennessee is now getting hit, that we're in the tornado alley, the new tornado alley, which means the storms are gonna be more violent in this area, which means we're gonna have higher occurrences of 4 inches of rain.
Yes.
And that was something that Gary and I questioned when the application was being, are you actually planning enough for these extreme events?
So that will be, I will, regulatory,
I know.
they're not gonna make changes until it's a.
My point gets back to what
Takes a
we
long
talked
time.
about. If you get another heavy rain like that, it's gonna blow out someplace else. How do you stop it? That's not blowing someplace else.
Well,
the
in
whole
the future,
system's
you'll have
designed-
another cell there.
Well, and in the future, it'll also be covered too, closed,
Right.
so there won't be any rainwater get into it, hopefully.
You're right.
That's the theoretical thought, is that you've capped it enough to slow that down.
Better be.
So that was one of my initial questions is how much, right? There are requirements for how much rain goes into these models
Yeah.
to predict how much leachate is collected. Because the definition of leachate is water that's come in contact with, trash. So storm events are used in determining that, number. I do not know exactly that storm. I know everything else around the landfill is generally a 2-year, 25-year storm, which is in this area somewhere close to 3 inches of, 3+ inches of rain in an event. So 4 inches prior to that would not be extremely over that limit.
Yeah, but in Tennessee, in the last 10 years, we've
Right.
had 2 100-year storms.
Well, that is true, and there's, active God did not.
And we looked at,
doesn't
over 10
happen.
years, and, you know, when you looked at 10-year, average, it was like 55 inches a year.
Yeah,
And
right.
then when you look at the 5 years, though,
It has gone on.
it's gone up to like 65 to 70
Yes.
inches.
So when we're talking about 2-year, 25-year storm, 2-year, 10-year storm, whatever, those are updated literally daily. So when we use those models, we have to check that day
Who,
about what those are.
what's updated?
Storm events,
By who?
NOAA, National Weather.
Right, but I
dear.
think the TDEC regulations always drop you back to the TDOT, the state stuff, which is not updated. Hasn't been updated in years.
Right.
Is that what you're talking
very
about?
slow.
Maybe I go above
Yeah,
and
because I
beyond.
have that in another case and we looked it up and it was something from, way back.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there were 2 places to find the data and they weren't even correlated to each other. So it was concerning and you're right. So if you're planning for the future as opposed to looking back 10 years, you've got a different issue on your hands.
Yes.
You've put your finger right on it.
So I keep getting hung up on the pipe, sorry, but, so, assuming the 8-inch pipe is per code, right, for this land, for this area, would a 6-inch be the per code? I mean, maybe that's what we were what we were referring to
Yeah,
also.
so let me go back to why this was even talked about. When you're expanding into the cell, you're supposed to check those design, make sure that it's large enough, make sure that it handles the overburden and stuff like that. That had not been completed at probably the level 1, level 2 of the review. So that was a comment from TDEC was, is this pipe adequately sized? And is it large enough to handle crushing? That's what the memorandum, the technical memo that came out was addressing. It was addressing the size or the flow, and it was addressing, can it handle the additional overburden? And in that process, they did determine that a portion of that pipe was PVC and would not handle that. So their fix was to slip line it with an HDPE pipe that can handle.
Actually, it's the other way around. The current is a 6-inch HDPE, and they want to put it, or no, yeah, it's
It
6-inch
changed
PVC, yeah,
Yeah.
switching the new stuff or whatever.
So they're gonna put a 4-inch
The 4-inch
HDPE all the way.
SDR they're talking about, whatever
Yes.
it is.
Where's that at again?
So the calculations were proving that HDPE slip line pipe could handle the overburden of the new landfill. And that was the only comment from TDEC. So without reviewing that report in depth, nobody really knew that there was a collapsed pipe. There was a little bit of discussion about a fitting maybe.
You happen to have, there was some language identified in that CEC report where it was like a partial sentence that made like no sense. And I remember that being a bit of a flag.
Back in 2024.
Yes.
From the 2020.
You know, Chuck, so it's in that CEC report. And if you take a look to see if you can find that, I think that would be useful to the commission to,
Another thing I keep thinking about, once again, on the crushed pipe, is that, okay, you have this crushed pipe, and then just the piping in general, there's gonna be, I'm guessing, some sort of gravel layer on top of the pipe, like 1-2 foot, something? Okay, so then if you have this crushed pipe and now gravel is caved into the pipe, and then dirt is caving in as well, how is slip lining, does slip lining fix all of that crushed in portion?
I just want it done right.
That's where I was kinda going.
You know, you can try all these other ways, but, you know,
Well, but it sounds like they're not gonna do
that's why we got hurt.
oh, I think I found it. I think it was in section 2C.
That pipe is,
And
nobody's
this-
strong enough to push all the crush down in there.
You're looking at the memorandum from Mike
Either way, you have a block.
I think so.
on
Look at-
22, 24.
I think so.
That's not. it.
Yes, it's from a
Yeah.
year, and section 2C.
I don't see that. Oh, 2C.
It's paragraph, it says observations from the initial camera scoping are, and there's an A and a B and a C.
You know which page that's on.
I don't, I captured it on something and,
Oh, I see, observation, yes. The PVC pipe extends to what is believed to be the module A low point. The PVC extends to what appears to be a black connection that we believe is a Firmco coupling that is connected to a slotted PVC pipe within module A. I will agree with that.
and then the last sentence says, the black pipe connection appeared to be pinched, but we were unable to undetermined if flow was restricted. So it looked like one version of it says we were unable to something, and then another version might have said it's undetermined if flow is restricted. But either way, we were unable to undetermined. I think that was in the final version, even though I've got, okay. So that caught an eye, and that was sort of the start of, it was months later, but then Mr. Klein followed that and got into the camera footage after we finally got it, and that's what created the problem. My question would be, from your view of the CCTV footage, is the connection pinched and is the flow restricted?
Yes.
Okay,
So there you have it. That's the genesis of the problem.
I mean, they say we could not determine if it was restricted.
Well, they know now.
I'm saying find out if it's restricted.
I mean,
And the only way to do that is to excavate that. I will agree, excavating in a landfill is not easy. It's not excavating in clay or rock. It's not an easy task, whether it's 10 feet deep, 30 feet deep, or 100 feet deep. Not an easy task. But
Was there a bypass option? Is there another way to put in just things?
no, because the way these leachate collections are made, it's multiple pipes that hit a header. And I believe that black pipe that is collapsed is the T where all that header collects in. So we've literally taken all of this that's supposed to come to the low point and flow through this pipe, and we've literally pinched it right there.
okay, so I was wondering, can y'all hear him? You might, okay, I just wanted to,
That's why I said up front.
okay. I just wasn't sure about people in the
I'm
back.
sorry, you're gonna have to speak louder.
I just was asking if you could hear him. He's more important than
So
I am.
Elizabeth, based off their February 27th, again, that, I can go back to that one. Their comment at the end is this work will be conducted as part of modules 1 and 2 self-construction project. So,
What page are you on?
I don't know if it's got dates on it.
Up at the top?
One or two.
Oh, where they're slip lining the pipe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Where
mean,
they
that's in the
needed to do
design.
the camera and everything else, they're saying it won't even be done until part of that construction phase.
that million.
So we got a leachate problem right now, and nothing's being done about it really, except pumping.
Yes, and if I'm understanding them correctly, they're still saying, it sounds to me, and I have to read this again, so I just wanna be cautious here, but it sounds like they're saying TDEC already approved it. We sent them information, they've already approved what we're doing, so we're gonna continue with what we're doing. And I think our, kind of our point is, you didn't give them the whole story. And you might have gotten a different answer if you'd
Right.
given them the whole story. Mr. Klein found the rest of the story, so now what do we do? I mean, if you could put a camera in there and, I mean, how much is it restricted? I mean, that begs a bunch more questions, but it's certainly, it's, this current is not acceptable to what I can see to protect the commission against potential liability, all the costs and the problems that happen. Leachate and gas are always your two enemies. They get worse over time. They don't get better. They can get better way down the line, obviously, when you cap and cover, but even then, you know, the members are bringing up important points about the way that we're dealing with aggressive, chaotic weather changes that are not showing any signs of the trend line is this way, not that. So, you know, ounce of prevention, pound of cure kind of conversation there. Because it just turns into money later. It's just cost.
So is this report going to go to TDEC, somebody to Lou or someone in TDEC? So that they can see what was found? So they can actually,
We're having this conversation in real time.
oh, okay.
I think that is, there's, if you want, the way it's set up right now, if the commission says, you know, wants to talk about all this and say, come up with a plan, like we want a camera first, we want a meeting, we want an on-site, whatever we want, I'd say we do that quickly, and then if satisfaction is not received and everyone's not in agreement, it has to go to TDEC really quickly. Maybe we'll get answers back that say, there's really nothing to see here, it's a nothing burger, or it's a small problem. I don't know. But
I don't
figuring out
know
the
if
stuff.
TDEC has seen this memorandum. I don't know if that is.
What, this,
Yeah.
No, the one
Oh.
from back March of '24.
I'm not sure if that was submitted.
So I
as part
guess
of
what's
the-
our follow-up steps? Do we wanna ask CEC to camera it? Do we want a camera? Send them the bill? What do we wanna do? That seems to be the next step, is to shove a camera down that leachate pipe.
I think we should camera it and send them the bill.
Yeah,
I mean,
or
that-
have a commissioner out there, somebody from this team out there to observe it right there. I mean, I've been out there for an inspection of a landfill leachate pipe before, and they have TVs set up, you can watch it real time as they're going through it.
So what's your availability to be out there to watch a leachate?
I mean, I get excited about that, let me know. I'll take it.
I hear it in your voice.
Check with
It is
some of
cool
our
to
subs
watch.
and see what their schedule is.
So I think we should get a time and date from him, and then we just decide who can be there. It doesn't have to be just one person, it can be more. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
wouldn't hurt at all for that.
I mean, they send little robot cars down through the pipe.
So,
Very cool.
Yeah.
Sadly enough, not in a 6-inch pipe. It's a push cam that you get a pretty decent wiggly picture.
Well, I was gonna say, this thing's full of dark liquid, right? The pipe is.
It shouldn't be.
Should be
It
clear?
Not always
It should be
leachate's
pretty
nice.
dry. And it was when they did the report. I mean, they did bucket tests and determined approximately a gallon a minute.
So Chris is gonna find a camera. I'm gonna let Diana take the lead on that with Chris, since you like going to landfills looking at leachate pipes. And if, please, and if Chris and y'all don't like what you see, Ms. Murphy and I'll talk about the next step of TDEC. Does that work, Ms.
Access to
Murphy?
this pipe at this point could be a little tricky.
Wear your boots.
Because, well, no, I'm saying while we were out there, it's extended, well beyond the flat slope of everything. So
Oh, it
it's gonna be tricky. And I think that we will probably have to have some assistance from a contractor to cut that pipe off, put some kind of clean out in so that we can get to it. Something, cause I mean, if I'm not mistaken, those things were sticking out 15 feet or so.
Who does he need to coordinate that with the landfill?
You asking me?
No, I'm asking Mr. Hollenshed.
Coordinate that through me
Okay.
for now. I'll give you a card and then I'll have a contact you need to, I'll get with you.
Okay.
Okay, so the plan is to, the commission, I have to let council know that the commission wants to do the camera ASAP. And Mr. Klein, you can set up all that tech.
Actually, they're not sticking up that far. They may be able to.
And the goal of this is to get up to the Fernco coupling where the collapse.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep, okay.
I think the key is to, key from my understanding is to make sure if it goes into that connection, I mean, how severe is the problem that we're dealing with? I mean, that should give us an indication how severe the collapse is and what we're talking about as far as a fix.
Well, and let us know what they've done to fix it already, if they have made any attempts to fix it.
Yeah, what's the timing for the fix then?
Yeah.
So it may be easier first to find out if they have slip lined that pipe. If they've not slip lined the pipe, then it is exactly this, should be exactly the same way.
Based off this, they didn't plan on doing it until they start construction on phase 1 and phase 2. Or modules 1 and 2.
Which is where they're at right now.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know.
So they're not far from putting down the cell liner.
You know, so maybe
They
they
haven't
have.
already.
Right.
But if they have, they haven't provided us with any camera views, which is what they're supposed to do.
So what I'm saying is I don't wanna waste anybody's time or money or energy to go out there and look at something that we've already got a report and a camera from. However, if they have slip lined that pipe, we would like to see what does it look like all the way through it, what does it look like on the other end?
So who would you ask? Would you ask CEC, Holly? Who would you go to?
He's got a guy.
I'll coordinate.
He's got a guy.
Okay.
So the question is, where are they at in this process to be to the point that they're either gonna slip line it or put the cameras in so we can get some visuals? Because if they're gonna do it, then it's gonna be done in the next week or 2 weeks, and when we should get camera views both before and after.
What's the route of communication on this then?
Chris will be reaching out to Hollenshed.
Forward everything through Holly and Wells.
Holly's not on the,
There's a new one in town.
Yeah, I know Stoddard,
So which one?
both, do both. Holly's still involved a bit.
Holly, Stoddard, Wells. Do you want to be on it?
No.
Okay.
can we include is it Tuttle?
Turtle,
It's Turtle.
yes.
I'm so sorry. I thought now for 2 weeks it was Tuttle. Okay, should we include Miss Turtle as well?
Yes, that
Okay.
should be fine.
Are you tracking everybody?
Hmm?
So there's Holly Van Kirk and Mr. Klassen were in kind of key roles. They're both officially out or in different roles. So Mr. Stoddard is doing what Ms. Kirk, that's the contact note I got. So Mr. Stoddard is in, and then Ms. Turtle, that'll be a tough one. Ms. Turtle is also in where Mr. Klassen was.
Correct.
We have that in the 6 o'clock meeting to discuss, just to educate. Yes, thank you. I'll make the next meeting a little quicker.
I'll get with you afterwards.
So, do you have a picture, do you have that paper, a capture of what that crushed piece looked like? Do you have that somewhere handy?
This is the one that they provided. I don't know.
Yeah, that,
The view that I had in my report was a little bit better.
yeah, there was another one, you couldn't, that was part of the problem, you couldn't really see from that what you were looking at.
I do not have that on me, not on my lab. And that also points out
So that's why he said
everything
that's a
that I'm
completely
seeing.
collapsed fitting. This is from
Yeah.
his view of the tape. So this is from Mr. Klein's view of the closed circuit, and he marks it as collapsed. So not partially or pinched, but collapsed. So
And you can see the dirt and everything on top of it.
does anyone know what a stinger bar is and how that could affect that? Can you tell us what that is?
Stinger bar.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us?
I don't know.
Oh.
That's why I asked.
Is that in
That's in this.
one of their reports?
Yeah, in the memo from CEC,
Like a long cylindrical bar.
it just said, the contractor consulting on the pipe slip lining and grouting, if the line does become blocked, a stinger bar could be used to open the line back up. So I don't know if that addresses this type of
I
problem.
have heard of that.
Okay.
Yeah, basic,
They stab it through the obstruction problem.
yeah, and it like expands open.
If it's a collapsed, pipe, how does it open the pipe where it's like broken?
Just stings it.
It probably has some kind of bellows
Should
that
have been
would be collapsed when it goes in, and they apply hydraulics or something, and it expands.
Alright,
Is that in this?
I don't know exactly, but
Yes.
that's what I assume it would be.
So do we have our marching orders for the leachate collapsed pipe issue, Chris? Elizabeth, are we good with the leachate pipe? Because we got
yes,
27 minutes. On minor modification, on January 30th at 5:40, an email went out from CEC to the state about minor modifications to the newly approved expansion. That was without us, myself, Elizabeth, and us reviewing that. That was recalled and sent to us at 11:02 on the 31st of January. They gave us until February 6th to review, which is not nearly enough time. So that obviously went to Chris, our consultant. He had a number of questions that you'll find here on a letter response from CEC dated March 27th. Chris, you want to walk us through those?
Let me get you that.
Yeah.
Oh, this was on the minor mod?
Yes.
Oh, let me shortcut this for you. There was back and forth on this minor mod. It really had to do with rock and some language. And I just heard back from, council this morning that, they've agreed to our requirements and got our requirements from Mr. Klein. And our requirements were these. Number one, they had to change the language from everything, there's some kind of sweeping statement, like, ultimately, all the responsibility for everything is on the commission. And I was like, nope, it'll say what is actually the case, we hold the permit, we own the property, but there's an operating agreement, and leave it at that. We'll work the rest out later. So they agreed to that, so that's being changed. We wanted the type of rock to be used for the leachate. And so there was some back and forth on it. and Mr. Klein, basically recommended that we have a pH of 4, like the number in the permit. So they've agreed to that.
Oh, they've agreed?
Yes.
Okay, because it looked to me like they went back to, they were not gonna do that.
What page
Well,
are you
this-
I'm
on?
on page,
This is from February 27th.
So this is new today,
Oh,
or is it just
Yeah,
the
okay.
past
hence
few
the
days?
back and forth.
oh, okay.
Yeah, the first
Okay, yeah,
answer
this
back
is-
was
This is
no.
February 20.
Right.
Okay,
So
so that's in here.
since all that, they've agreed to the language change, they agreed to the pH of 4, and we also added the requirements that they have to test the rock, make sure it's not gonna, collapse under the pH issue. If they wanna get it in state and they get something that passes the testing, that's fine, but they have to do the testing by a third party, outside, QC, signed in writing to the commission before the rock is purchased. So those are the terms that we've agreed upon, subject to me seeing it in writing, which she said she should have tomorrow. So that's the update. So the rest of probably what Mr. Klein was gonna tell you was this sort of thing, like what transpired before we reached agreement. But it sounded like we got, oh, I got a thumbs up. That's what he wanted, so that's what we got.
You got, I
It
was
just
gonna
took a
go
little
to a big
while.
explanation about why. but-
Yeah, the why is just safety, to make sure that the leachate's not dissolved, or the rock's not dissolving under the, so that's that. There you go. Am I doing it? Are
Done.
you happy?
Groundwater monitoring plan that was submitted March 14th. Do you want to run through that with us, for us?
We did not, the commission did not have changes to the groundwater monitoring plan, but the reason there was back and forth and Mr. Klein got involved is because the commission was asked to look at it and approve it with something like 2 business days notice, which is not acceptable. And so that message has been delivered, I think effectively at this point. So we did put it on extension. Mr. Klein did look at it, because the goal is for the commission on the go forward to track along and not just be surprised and get documents in the mail and sign off on things. You don't want to do that. There are some things that have to be resolved. It's a long groundwater monitoring plan. There's 2 main constituents. Cobalt, what were they?
Nickel and nitrates, I think.
Cobalt and beryllium? Was that right?
Not beryllium. I didn't see beryllium.
Don't remember which one. They had discussed it previously in another groundwatering report. I think it was.
It's nickel.
I know cobalt was one of them.
There's
Cobalt
3.
and nickel and nitrates.
Yeah, the nitrates. So there's not, it's not horrible by any stretch, but it's not super great. It looks like there's something coming from somewhere. And all of that kind of tracks back to this leachate discussion that we're having. You want to minimize the likelihood of that leachate getting all the way down into the groundwater, because that creates the long-term liabilities and problems.
Yes.
Ongoing monitoring is very expensive. So if we've identified a problem, we want to get to it sooner than later. The 2 could be connected, they might not be connected. But at this point, Mr. Klein is just reading and watching and following, and we're not changing anything that they proposed in their groundwater monitoring plan.
Well, I have questions. Okay, so the cobalt, there was something that had to do with the site and the results from the site, so they changed the maximum allowable.
Yes,
Okay.
and that was something that had previously been done. So the state will allow you to, the state sets the regulations, and then obviously every site's a little bit different. And I think cobalt was one of those that is in the soil.
Uh-huh.
And it's known, it's been tested, so they were providing reasons to elevate that number because it's something that was already there.
So I have a question about notifying the people who live in the area. It talks about how if there's elevated something or other, whatever, that they will be, over a certain, the SSI, then it will be, they'll be notified.
Yes.
That's happening. So when are these people notified? I mean, there are some elevated numbers that they kind of justified them, and so have they been notified by these changes, or?
I do not know at this point that they have or need to be notified.
Okay, the need to is what I am not sure about. I don't know.
So part of this, assessment plan is to do a well monitor, or a well mapping. So
yeah.
anything within a mile,
Mhm.
2 mile, it's something
It's a
that
mile
you do.
radius.
Yeah, it's something that you do when you're building a new landfill anyway. So you check all that stuff, so that in the event that something is leaving the site, you do have all those folks to notify. If it's groundwater, you know who you're notifying. If it's gas mitigation,
Right.
you know where you're going.
Well, I just didn't know, it's not clear to me when that change, that information is extended to the people that have those wells. You know, is it just, we all know now about the cobalt,
Yes.
but do they know that?
In my experience, so the state, you have these elevated things, and then they ask you to go under what is called assessment monitoring, which is more stringent monitoring than just detection.
Okay.
So you do detection normally, and when you detect something, you go into assessment monitoring. And that's what the report is here is our plan for our assessment monitoring.
Okay.
So if there are other things found during assessment monitoring, which is, again, more stringent, there are more things that they've got to sample for. It's more often that they got to sample for it. And if those things are found
That's when they
then they
notify. Gotcha.
begin to notify. So you've got, in detection, you've got notifiers. So it's basically, I'm catching this, so now let's look at other parameters that.
Hits a threshold and it
Yeah.
kicks it out to do
Yeah.
something. Okay.
And they do the same thing with gas monitoring. Anything that could leave the site, it's all the same. I'll double check to make sure when they're supposed to be notified and get that back to y'all.
According to this YouTube video, the stinger bars, like the cylindrical tube, the video showed they put fiberglass around it. They put it in there and took a bicycle pump that expands into that cavity.
Sounds like
So when the
sounds like a heart
It's
catheter.
like
Yeah.
Are we, any other questions about the groundwater assessment plan?
You know, it's just to follow, something for the commission to follow. But it's been submitted.
But you're right, Beryllium was a concern before, but it's not mentioned in
I
this.
couldn't remember, I was guessing, I shouldn't be guessing.
Okay.
The last thing is the corrective action plan that was submitted by Republic on December 24th. That also includes some emails back from 11/2024 from Mr. Klassen, and it also has a report that came from Wells back on February 28th. That's showing what they're continuing to do.
Do you want me to
Please,
summarize on that?
educate us.
I asked for that report that's in your packet, that came from council. The bottom line is that the things don't match up. So what people are seeing out on the road doesn't match up with the assurances that everything's fine. That's the bottom line to it, and that's gone on for months. I think that I've communicated adequately with Republic that this report didn't change any of that. If anything, it might have helped the commission's narrative that they're saying things are done when they're not done. So, or it's, December 2024, elevated rock, they added rock and the tipping was unquantified. Like, how much rock did you get there? When did you put it in? I wanted specifics and I didn't get them. I'm not saying that they didn't try or anything like that, but it's not what I was looking for at all. So the bottom line is that is going to get all tracked into the contract negotiations, because one of the core problems here is there seems to be a dispute about what they're supposed to be doing or not supposed to be doing. Instead of arguing back and forth, it seems the solution would be to have very clear language about what they're supposed to do and what happens if there's a failure. And so that's now going to get moved either into the contract negotiation or it'll end up in front of a local judge down here with the declaratory judgment case, trying to figure out, you know, what are the responsibilities under this agreement? If we can work it out, great. If we can't, we'll ask a judge to do it. But we're done with the back and forth, and now we've got 5 or 6 months of pretty hard evidence on all sides, and we have the story and we can see what's happened, and we either fix it or we don't. But to the public's point, like, what's the permanent forward? We're only on stage 2 of that. We're not done. I'm sorry, we're not done, but we're not.
Well, I would like to get rid of the whole thing. We feel like we're doing enough, you know, for Republic to say, make the comment, we feel like we're doing enough, because we don't, you know, and so, yes, so I'm glad you're negotiating that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all useful information. We're gonna use all that information. And there'll probably be another site visit. I think I'm hearing it's getting a little bit better. It's not done, it's not great, but it's maybe not quite as bad, but it also depends on the weather, so. That's the news from that one.
We're not gonna discuss consulting plans, but our costs that we're looking at is, I know we have a number of things to do that we've discussed for the leachate situation. Are there any other action items that need to be taken for minor mod, groundwater, or the corrective action for mud and debris?
As far as just the workshop to exchange information, I think we covered it, unless anyone has questions for Mr. Klein before the workshop ends.
I have one question. As we move through this process as a group, is there gonna be, adequate response back to us concerned citizens about how it's being handled and the process and the steps we're taking, because the leachate is bad. And I think as a community where I live, I'd really like to know and be involved as far as being updated, so I'm not blowing up Elizabeth's email or Adam's email.
Do not blow up my email.
Well,
It's okay.
if you not notice it slowed down,
Thank you.
because I would like it better if, as you know, you don't have to detail me every step of the way, as you know and get solid answers, pass it along. To me personally, I would like to have it. I don't know about the rest of everybody else, but me personally, I would like to know. I would like to be involved with step by step as we go.
I can just share with you what I shared with the chair today, which is we're trying to get a schedule right now
Yes.
of meetings and set up a process. This is not simple. There's a number of people inside of Republic who have different roles and jobs, and everyone's got different pieces of the elephant that they're holding on to and think it looks like this or like that. And so we're setting up the process so we're all, you know, doing the whole elephant. Everybody's got their eyes on the same stuff. I've negotiated a lot of complicated documents that are very similar to what we're about to embark on. And it just takes time. Set up the process. As soon as I have an update for the commission, I will share that, and then the public will get to hear it. I will not be updating people on the negotiations as they're happening, so
No, I
don't ask.
understand that, but you know, like if it's crushed pipe and it's gonna have to be changed, you know.
Oh, those issues,
You
as
see
soon
what
as
I'm
we
saying?
know,
I mean, I understand the negotiating that takes time,
Yep.
but I'm talking about as how we're fixing it, you know, because we say as soon as possible. That's kind of where I'm at, you know, if it's crushed pipe, are we repairing it, are they gonna put the adequate, pipe back in place, and, you know, and time frame. What kind of time frame are they gonna have to repair it in, you know, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? I mean, how long are we expecting?
we'll get the
it?
information first, and I'll just do what the commission asked for and get the information back to everyone, and
And the reason why I ask here is because it's kind of hard, because, you know, we have to fill out those record request forms. It just makes it a little easier just to have that open communication without going through the whole process.
do you have a website?
Yeah, we can start adding I mean, whatever we need to add leachate wise on there, yes.
It'd be under other documents, or it wouldn't be the agenda minutes.
I mean, every single bit is on the website,
It is,
Yeah.
I've seen it.
and there's
Okay.
another 600 pages too that,
We can
minor
start
mod.
adding some updates there as we get them that are determinative.
Okay.
so to
Yeah,
speak?
just like solid answers, you know, I don't expect to be, well, I guess this is what's gonna take place, you know, just as you get solid answers, I like to be able to have access to that, just to read and clarify.
We're supposed to have a new county website in the next couple of weeks, so I have no idea what it's gonna look like. I'm not seeing a picture of it, copy of it, anything. So just be aware of that as well. So,
Can I ask a simple question? I know the leachate's in the surface water, groundwater. What about, how deep would this leachate go to get into the drinking water and wells? How deep's the hole y'all started with? Let's start there. When
I
you-
mean, isn't groundwater fairly deep?
Yeah, it's over 100 feet, but if you dug 50 foot down to start your process, it's only 50 feet away, right? If it's at 100.
Well.
I don't know how deep the
no,
hole
we're-
was.
We're, you know, depth in the landfill is different than the depth of the groundwater. So we've got a barrier.
Right.
We've got a barrier between that. The issue is that, from our findings, is that the leachate is in the stormwater, which is surface.
Which in turn could find a crack in a fissure.
But it's more likely to go into a river.
Understood. I mean, I was just
Yeah.
asking, just to throw it out there. I mean,
So I'm not familiar with the lithology or geology here, but I'm guessing based on my yard that it's mostly clay, gravelly clay, silty clay, which tends
It
to
is, it's hard,
inhibit
yeah.
vertical movement, or it makes it go really slow. So water would prefer, I would imagine, to travel laterally versus vertically.
it's path least resistance.
Right.
workshop's done. We're gonna
I
take
have a
oh,
question.
hold on.
With regards to the cobalt and the parties that could be affected, do you have any idea? Because I know that there are a lot of people in the area that are on well water, that are not on city water. So when we're talking about the cobalt, how, and the water, what kind of, do we know who the parties could be affected by any possibility?
I do not until
People
they,
drinking out of the creek right now.
until they provide the report for wells in the area. I do not know.
I know that
Are
there's-
most, Mr. Myers, are most people not on drinking water out there now? Because don't they have drinking water versus city water versus wells?
I have a
We're all
well.
on wells.
I live 2.9 miles. I just checked my distance from the landfill entrance to my house is 2.9 miles and Pat had discussed this with me back quite some months ago. What is it called where it travels a
The
certain way?
underground aquifer goes all the way to Paint Rock and back to Philadelphia. There was a study that identified all the properties
And I am in
that
that
were on
direct
well
path.
water.
We're all probably in the same one.
We'll let TDEC handle that.
Yeah.
When that happens. The workshop is done. We got 7 minutes until the voting meeting starts. Thank y'all. Now, everybody's here, just so the camera's here, everybody's here. Public comments?
Well, my name's Brian, and just basically the same thing. I'm here to find out the long-term solution and the fix to the ongoing problem that we've had.
Thank you.
My name is Pat Hunter, and I would like to see as many records, documents on the website, so we don't have to ask you, Adam.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we got December 19th and February 20th minutes to approve. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I will make a motion to approve, but there on the 20th, there was a sentence in there, there was a word that was misspelled. It was, instead of expectantly, it was expectedly, should be. And so it's just a typo, and then the other is, there was a sentence that was actually a note to Adam that, from me, asking him a question in it, that if you could remove that. And with those changes, I would like make a motion that it be approved.
Both December and February?
December and February,
Okay.
but just with the changes in the February.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The 2025 meeting dates were published in the News Herald and the Daily Edition, so that's good. Advanced EPA, we need to vote on them to do our 2025 audit for the tune of $10,100. So I'll need a motion to approve that expenditure for our 2025 audit.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Do roll call since it involves money.
Okay, just a second.
You're good.
Second, Ms. Ross.
Ms. Ross.
Okay, roll call. Ms. Moss?
Sorry.
Roll call. On the audit.
Hey,
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy.
Mr. Davis? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Aye. We have our 2024 annual progress report. Want to run us through this real quick? Tell us how much incredible recycling we are doing.
Right. You should have the numbers there in front of you. Public recycling, Loudon County collected 2,157.40 tons in 2024, and Lenore City collected 88.8 tons. And you'll see some private numbers from companies within the boundaries of the county. Your big heavy hitter there is the Kimberly-Clark Corporation. They reported 236,505.36 tons of recycled material. Then you had Primient with 2,883.98 tons, and Honda with 1,750.49 tons. You'll see some companies listed below that with nothing there. Those kind of big box stores are entered by TDEC. They get those numbers from the national corporate office for those companies and enter those in there. So they'll do that themselves later, and that'll just increase what your diversion rate is. If you look on the second sheet there, this will show how I calculate what your diversion is at this moment. Again, this is my calculation. TDEC will go in and review all the information and issue your final real number late in the summer when they review all the data. But taking the total public recycling and diversion of 2,246.20 tons and the private recycling and diversion of 241,139.83 tons, running all that through TDEC's real-time conversion formula, that gives Loudon County for 2024, as of this moment, a 52.8% diversion rate, which is a pretty good increase. Last year, you were at 44%, so pretty good increase.
That's great. Does the city of Loudon not recycle?
They don't report anything to us, so if they do, they can certainly report that, and we can include it in the report, but I've never received anything from them.
Gary, will you check with the mayor on that, please? 'Cause we want every number we can to make our numbers look better.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do we need to vote on this?
You do, so the
Okay.
board will need to vote to approve the report, and then I can enter in the system and mark it.
Can I get a motion to approve our annual progress report?
I'll motion. I'll
Okay,
make a
Andy,
motion.
thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Who was that?
Aye.
Larry, thank you, Larry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Got a call, Larry and I talked about, there's a property owner next to the landfill that has a fence line with the landfill, and trees have fallen over every which way, and they wanna clear out their side of the property, and there's also, I believe, some debris on the landfill side they wanna clear up a little bit as well, so I don't even know if we need to vote on it, I just wanna bring everybody's attention that that tree line's gonna be cleared, they're clearing their side of the property line, but like I said, there is some trash, like tires and some other, just,
I don't know what's all in there now. We cleaned it up years ago, not all the way up the hill, but down toward the front. Now they're wanting to do the property line, which is clearly marked.
yes.
The pins are marked. They've had it surveyed. I think it's Bill's daughter, Megan Hart Nelson. And they're willing to clear the property line. And I'm assuming that there may be some brush that goes over on the landfill side, which in my opinion wouldn't hurt a thing.
And they're putting a fence, are they putting a fence up as well?
I don't know what their intent is yet.
We're gonna completely clean that whole fence line up.
Okay.
Because the driveway going up to that property, every time it rains, it washes out in the road. We're
Okay.
trying to eliminate that problem of that going out into the road.
I don't think we need to vote. I think we just want to inform anybody, unless somebody thinks we need to vote, it's just somebody clearing their own property line, so.
I mean, well, the property line, I mean, we will actually be on some of the landfill property while we're doing the cleaning, but we're not gonna, I mean,
You're
it's not
fine.
gonna be destructive.
You're fine. You're good. Do you want us to take a vote?
So you,
I don't
as
think
long
we
as
need
you
one.
say I'm good, I'm good. I'm gonna clear it up. I
It'll be
mean,
in the
if it's
minutes.
okay.
Yeah, you're good. Have fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Murphy sent us one final bill that goes from September to January of this year, which is a lot of heavy hitting for the part two, and as we've gotten into this leachate and mud and stuff, so, the final bill through January is $26,900 for 88 hours. It includes one trip over here in November, so I'll need a motion to pay her invoice, invoice number 7.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. I got a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Roll call, Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Mr. Jameson,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
Mr. Roach is a yes. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson, Mr. Waller.
Aye. Sorry, did I vote no?
Pass
You did.
unanimous.
Oh. That is approved. In your packet, we have some new contacts that Ms. Murphy was discussing for the landfill. Do you want to just inform us who they are and what places who they're replacing, just so we know?
Ms. Lindsay Turtle, former Director of Engineering for the corporation, has accepted the job as GM. We actually cleared her schedule today, and she'll be here on the 17th for the meeting to be introduced.
Okay.
Is that her last name spelled?
Turtle.
It's in the packet.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes. Right behind the invoice from Ms. Murphy.
Holly Van Kirk, the EM, is staying with the site through the construction, for construction only. A gentleman named Starter Pickrell, the EM out of Asheville, and he has sites in Haywood County, some closed sites in Knox County and Carter Valley landfill in Upper East Tennessee. And he'll now have, this landfill, will be taking Holly's place, for site work. And when the construction is done, he will be the new EM at the site. Extensive knowledge, very good at what he does. And you're not done with me, so you still got.
Y'all have the operations report. There is a new inspection that was done yesterday, and we got it today.
Shocking.
So here's copies for that, if you want to just peruse through this real quick. And then if you have any questions for operations or any other stuff in the report, please. Ask Mr. Hollenshed. You'll notice there is some stuff in there about leachate, which obviously we spent an
Uh-huh.
hour discussing.
And there's these erosion rivulets. Tell me why that happens. I mean, is that cover? Is that the
Yes.
problem with cover?
And I can't get back to them. I'll create more of a we will create more of a problem this time of year if we go back to them right now and try and fix them.
Oh, okay.
So we try to wait till we're dry, and then we'll go fix those.
I have a question. So when it rains, water's still allowed to drain through that outfall, right? Or
In the sediment pond?
no? No, past the, was it outfall 3?
We'll have to ask Chris Klein that one. Or an engineer that one,
Okay. When it rains,
right?
water's not staying on site, right? It's draining
Yes.
out. So how do we make sure, if there's, here it reports, slope on northeast corner has leachate escaping. How do we ensure that segregation?
I saw that when Chris and I were out there, and it has gone into a ditch, and that ditch was blocked off before we even got there, and they pumped it out and they're cleaning it out.
Okay.
That's because one of the temporary pumps had stopped working, and the electrician was there fixing it.
Okay.
So that was like a rare instance, not one of these, like you and Chris saw the new
Okay,
expansion.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I didn't understand, but, they're talking about the pumps, and they were shut down, and that kept a lot of this, the problem contained. And so are they working again, or are they, when it rains, or how does that?
I'm talking about when you go into the landfill, up the hill, there's the wheel wash. Go up a little bit further before you get to where all the plastic is safe for the new liner.
Right.
There's 2 temporary pumps that are ran off of solar panels.
Oh, okay.
One of those stopped working.
Oh.
Leachate leaked. It went down into a storm little ravine, drainage ravine. They blocked off that would allow it to run off site, pumped it,
Okay.
and they fixed that pump, yes.
Let's take care of it, okay. Sorry.
No, please ask. Next time do it when Chris is here so we can explain it better. Any questions for operations, host security fees, air quality, airspace utilization, quarterly origin reports, financials?
So did you ever you were gonna talk to Liberty Tire and see, there was a problem, they weren't taking any tires or something was going on? It's been a couple of months, so.
Are we accepting tires now, and are we fine with tires?
There were some tires.
We're accepting whole tires, yes.
Okay.
I'm accepting no shards, no.
And that was Liberty bringing it back to us, right?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
because there's nothing I can do with them. The premise of the whole accepting the shredded tires was a beneficial reuse. And the tires themselves, the tires themselves that we were told we were gonna accept were gonna be like this.
The shards.
But they were coming in like this, in just stringy lengths. And there's nothing, that's not anything we can do anything with.
So they didn't want to grind them up any further
They-
to the size we needed?
We're told that at that Knoxville office, that is the limit of the shredding.
Okay.
And we don't have any need for that material.
But we're like if Matlock Tire or Firestone brought tires down there to be disposed of, there's no issue at this point in time. Because a while back.
No, there's tire trailers.
But at some point, I think, a couple months back, they didn't pick them up quick enough.
No, we've had no problems lately.
Okay, thank you.
Or should that have been yes, we've had no problem, I don't know, but no, there have been no problems lately.
Any questions? I don't lose any action items from this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I got one thing, hold on a minute.
Yes, sir.
I just thought of it, sorry.
No, you're good.
That house that's up there on the property,
Uh-huh.
I know there's been a bunch of changes of, upper echelon through the years. We signed a contract years ago for countywide fire departments, and we do training in that brick house up there. And the sheriff's department does too, when the new guys come in, they learn how to clear houses.
Yeah.
And we still use that. So we had an agreement, a lawyer and all that stuff, and we signed it. And I just wanna make sure, since all this, there's nothing been done in years, and I know there's been people that's changed positions, even the board, since we did it. Are we still good to do our training up there? I know we've signed a thing for liability purposes if somebody gets hurt.
Do you have a copy of it?
We're responsible for our own people when somebody gets hurt on that property, and the landfill is not responsible for anything while we're training. I just wanna make sure that all that's still good, because we use that house quite frequently, and I wanna make sure, because I've been questioned. A couple of people came from over at the landfill a couple of times, and came over and asked us what we were doing. I wanna make sure that they understand what we're doing when we're up there.
I'm fine with it. Do you have a copy of that agreement, just so I can have it? So the new board can see it? Can you send me a copy
Yeah, I
of
don't
it?
have it with me, but.
Well, just email it to me. You have my email, I think. so.
But, I mean, like I said, there's people's names on there that's not even involved in this anymore. It was back in
That's fine.
19.
We can update it. Just let me see it. We should be fine.
Okay,
You're fine. You are fine.
okay,
I just want us to see a copy of it.
okay,
And let Ms. Murphy see a copy of it. But yes,
Okay.
please, carry on.
okay,
We need you in this county.
okay. Now you can adjourn, sorry.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody have a good night. Thank you all for being here.
We got 20 minutes.
You better hurry. Better hurry.
Oh, yeah, ball game starts now.
How do you like that?
Where's the record? We signed the contract.
It's fine, that's what I
So
see.
I was wondering, I saw you nodding your head, and I thought, he knows about this.
This
So,
man knows everything about the land. Copy, I believe. I just want to make sure it's updated, accurate, whatever.